So welcome everybody. As you're hopping on, I'll go ahead and take you just a few seconds here to introduce myself and let you all know what's going on. My name is James Dunn. I am the founder and organizer of this Facebook group, Turning the Outbreak Into Opportunity. As I've shared with you at the beginning of each one of these calls, kind of as everything started to come down and we were doing the self-quarantine and the physical distancing, and people were losing their jobs. Obviously, there's a lot of fear and a lot of concern over what was going to happen, but thankfully, I've done a lot of work over the years, and I saw an instant opportunity for so many people just to reevaluate their lives, to hit the reset button, or even just put the pause on it and make sure they were on the path they wanted to be on. So that way, when things did take back off, that they could, go into it feeling much better about it. Again, just knowing they were on the path that they wanted to be and not the path that they kind of got stuck on. Because, so rarely do we get the chance to sit back for a week or two, or now we're talking like maybe months, to stop and look at our lives. And so this was an amazing opportunity, but I knew with so many people being home and not used to this opportunity that they're going to focus on what's on the news and what's being force fed to us, so wanted to create a safe space and a safe environment for, where people could come in and surround themselves with positivity and just people thinking a little differently than what you're going to be seeing on CNN or MSNBC or any of those channels. So that's what this is all about. We're bringing on, speakers every day. This wraps up our initial 14-day run, but thankfully we're going to keep this going. But bringing in speakers every single day so you can have somebody that is giving you some maybe new ideas or just something else to think about. And I've got another amazing speaker with us today, which I'm going to introduce here in just one second. But before I do, this is a free resource. This is an open group to the public. So feel free, if you're watching this on Facebook right now, to share it. You can do a little watch party, share it on your page, on another group page. I don't care. We just want to get these messages out to as many people as possible. Again, to try and lift the spirits and give them something positive to think about. So with that being said, I think that's all the basic stuff. So I'm going to give Nicole here a proper introduction. I'm going to read, and I'm not great at reading, so I'm going to do my best though. But Nicole is based in Los Angeles, California, and is starting her longevity, see, there I go already, advising business by combining her scientific training and knowledge of longevity. See, there we go, better. The brain, aging, nutrition, and movement. She has recently finished her PhD biokinesiology and MS in gerontology, both from the University of Southern California, USC. Nice. She has presented her research and workshops nationally and internationally. She decided that going into scientific research and academia was not for her. So she's taking her leap of faith to start something completely new. Believing that anti-aging is bullshit, her mission is to shift the cultural mindset from anti-aging to pro-longevity. Longevity. I don't know why I just have to get this problem with that word.
I kind of like that new word. We might have to start working with that one too.
There you go. She has taught Pilates since 2005 and was kind enough to lead us in our group today, which I really appreciate, and is obsessed with high performance longevity, healthy living, and adventure travel, hiking, and optimal brain function. So without further ado, welcome, Dr. Nicole Marcione. So
thank you.
I stammered my way through it, but I wanted to make sure that we really hit on everything that you're about, what you stand for, and what you've been through, and just a great, piece of information there. So welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me, James. I mean, I can't believe you reached out to me almost 3 weeks ago when all of this started, and it seems crazy that now it's your 14th day, and congratulations on creating such an amazing space for all of us and bringing in so many different people. Like when you look at all the different content over the last 14 days, whether it was workouts or these interviews that you're doing, it's amazing. So I want to thank you. Thank you for inviting me to speak, and thank you for just hosting it, creating this, like coming up with the idea. I normally, in these past few weeks, I've been guest speaking in a lot of different groups or on podcasts, and it's been usually about longevity and aging and gut health and brain health, those types of things. But when you reached out to me, I was really going through some emotional things because we had just been told we were going to be stuck at home And even that's a term, right? Stuck at home.
Mhm.
And that's when I thought, we need to all take some time and make some choices, because we have the power of choice. Right now, so many things are uncertain. That's what this whole group is about, right? And how do we take those uncertainties and turn them, or at least what we can control, how can we really grab onto that and thrive during this time, as opposed to, let fear and uncertainty take us over. And so I reached out to my audience and I wrote an email of various choices we have. And I just want to read a couple of them, and then we can discuss them even further. But basically it was: be reactive or be proactive,
Mhm.
act out of fear or act out of love, have a scarcity mindset or abundance mindset, holding on to what's not serving us or letting go of what's not serving us, be stuck in a rut or look for new ways to pivot, narrow-minded thinking or creative, bold thinking, shrinking into limiting beliefs or growing into a new normal, sitting around and being bored or moving your body and being thankful, eat junk and processed foods or prepare nourishing meals, scroll mindlessly or sit mindfully and focus on our breath, gain weight or become the fittest person you know during this time, be lethargic or be radiant with energy and vibrancy, ignore the needs of others or be of service to others, build walls of solitude or build community and tribe. And so these were things that were going through my mind. And so I wanted to start putting them together and saying, okay, right now, if we're on social media or we're looking at the news, like there is so much fear and anxiety. And now there's this term called like quarantine 15, kind of like the college 15, which I think is so
Oh,
interesting
okay.
because people are um, talking about gaining all this weight because they're eating so much. And yet now we have so much time to actually take advantage, because even if we're still working, a lot of people that are listening to this are still working. They're just working
Mhm.
from home, but they're not having to commute. So that's
Mhm.
extra time to really work on ourselves, whether that's movement or actually start eating properly or meditating or sleep. And so I've been thinking, as if you, just like you just said, when have we had the blessing of all of this time, or to be able and take a reset button, hit the reset button, right?
Ah,
And how many of us have said, oh, if I could only have a week or 2 weeks, then I could get XYZ done, whether it's cleaning out your closets, learning a new skill, creating an online course, launching that thing you have in the back of your head, writing the book, reading the book,
yeah.
all of these things. And like now we have this time. And so we can sit back and be afraid and be anxious and, wind up making ourselves literally sick from this,
Mhm.
or we can take advantage of this time and really start to be able to grow from it. So I don't know if you have any thoughts
Yeah.
on
Well,
those things.
I think it's interesting, like, because just like you said, so many people say, I really wish I had a week to do this, or even just a day to do this or that, whatever. But since it was presented to us in this format of you have to stay home, now everybody's like, but I want to get out, I want to go do this, and so they're sitting at home, gaining this 15 pounds. But how many people this time of year are normally saying, oh my gosh, I really want to get fit, for spring or summer or whatever. I want to get in bikini, my bikini body, whatever. And now you've got all this time, but instead you're vegging out on potato chips and sitting on the couch. You're not exercising when you were given this gift of time to really just put your life in order and develop those habits. But it's all because of how it was framed to most people, was that, oh my gosh, there's this pandemic going on. You have to stay home and stay away from everybody. And so they're not just taking that breather and taking that step back and looking at it as the gift, like you said, that it is.
Exactly. And so the choices we make during this time around our health, or around our mental wellness, around our mindset really sets us up for once we get back into quote unquote normal life, and then actually for decades to come,
Yeah.
right? So I am all about longevity and what can we do now in our 30s, 40s, 50s to really set ourselves up for when we're 70, 80, 90, and maybe even 100. A lot of us are going to live to 100. And we want to make sure like the choices we make now are powerful enough to impact that. And so throughout my research that I've done, it's really come down to four things, and that's movement, nutrition, restoration, which would include things like sleep and meditation, and then connection. And right now, I think out of those four, most of us have heard or are very familiar with, like, yes, exercise will help us live longer and help us with our brain health. And yes, I know what I eat impacts my body and my brain and my gut, and even how important now sleep is and some type of mindfulness or meditation or breath work. But right now, connection we're seeing is a huge, huge factor in how we're feeling. And so many of us are on Zoom calls. So many of us maybe are living alone in our apartments and don't have that, contact, as much contact as when we were going to work. Or maybe we're an older adult. I don't know who's listening right now, but now, older adults, my significant other, his mother lives in the same building as we do, and she's been stuck in the house. She's 75, like she's not going out at all, and we talk to her through the window. But thank goodness, like if we weren't here to be able to involve her in some conversation, she would just be sitting in front of the TV freaking out.
Wow.
And and she was at first, and we told her, look, and her family's all in Italy, so we've been kind of involved in this situation since maybe 6 or 7 weeks ago, when it really was hitting hard in Italy. And I said, you are going to do everything you can to avoid getting this virus, but if your blood pressure's out the roof and your cortisol levels are going crazy, your stress hormones, and you're going to die of a heart attack or a stroke. Like, forget COVID virus. Let's get real, people. Most of us aren't going to catch the virus and die from it. But the number one killers in this country are heart disease, our stroke, our cancer, all of these things that we really can take care of. And if we let that anxiety and stress get to us, it's going to have a direct impact on all of these health issues and factors.
Yeah.
And so I know I watched yesterday, I forget her name. Was it Helen? No, I can't remember. Your talk with the therapist yesterday.
Oh,
Robin, sorry, yeah. Couldn't remember her name, but it was, I loved what she had to say about how we are either in our sympathetic nervous system, which is our flight, fight, or freeze, or our parasympathetic, which is our rest, digest, and heal. And, we need that fight, flight, or freeze for certain things, if we're jumping out of the way of a car, or we do have a cut and we need to get somewhere fast, like that, we want that system to jump in and take care of us. But if we're on these chronic levels of that type of stress, what it does, it starts breaking down our systems very slowly, and at first we don't notice, but then once we do notice, it's way too late. And so there's a lot of things we can do to stimulate or trigger that parasympathetic nervous system with the rest, digest, and heal. And because they can't both simultaneously be on, either one is on or the other one is off, or the other one is on. They don't both work at the same time. And so it's really amazing that our bodies can easily switch from one to the next. And one way is through our breath. So I don't know if you've ever done any type of breath work or deep breathing to bring down your blood pressure or calm your nerves.
Not really too much. I mean, other than just, taking some deep breaths and taking that moment. Because that's one thing I say to people a lot is like, just breathe, just take a minute and just breathe.
Yeah.
I've heard about like box breathing, and different things like that. So Yeah.
Yeah, so box breathing is really interesting for those in your audience who don't know that. You breathe in for 4, you hold for 4, you breathe out for 4, and you hold for 4. Is that the one? I mean, there's kind of different
Yep.
ones, but
Yep.
different
Yep.
times of holding.
Yep.
So the mechanism behind that, so it's not just the act of breathing, but what we're doing on a cellular, molecular level is that our diaphragm, which is the muscle, it's a muscle that is our lungs sit on. And when we inhale, the muscle pulls down to open up the lungs so the lungs get bigger. And then when we exhale, it releases and then the lungs go up. And what happens is that we have a nerve. Sorry, I'm going to get a little science
Go for it.
we have this nerve. It's called the vagus nerve or vagus nerve, vagus. It's our 10th cranial nerve, and it's our longest and most complicated nerve, and it goes from our brain all the way to our gut, and it's our major communication between our gut and our brain. Well, anyways, as this nerve goes down through our body, it has to pass through the diaphragm in order to get through our gut, along with our aorta and other vasculature that's important. And so when we breathe, that muscle actually stimulates the nerve because it's working on all of that area, and that's what's really cool. And so that is one of the underlying mechanisms of why breathing deeply, so not in our shoulders and our upper chest, but really in our belly and getting our ribs to expand and contract. It's that muscle, that diaphragm, and I encourage all of you to Google it later to look at the anatomy. It's super cool. But it stimulates the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve triggers our parasympathetic nervous system to kick in. And so that automatically lowers our blood pressure, stops stress hormones from being produced, starts stimulating the happy hormones in our body, and then we feel this instant relief of stress and anxiety. I mean, it's almost instant if you just sit down for like 1 or 2 minutes doing this breath. So yeah.
I know I don't do a lot of the breath work per se, but I've taken on meditation over the last couple of years, which of course, that's you're focused on your breathing, through that. So I know, and it has made a huge difference in me where I'm able to step out of the situation a lot more freely than I used to be. Like, whereas normally, like, you'd be triggered by something, it would happen, and like you get in that fight or flight mode, and your blood's pumping. You're like, I'm so angry about whatever. Like somebody cuts you off in traffic. That's always that's
oh my gosh.
I still can't stop it instantly, but within like half a second, I'm able to just like, okay, let's breathe. Just okay.
Yeah.
Bring myself back out of that.
Exactly. And as human beings, we're not meant to stop that instantly because when let's say someone cuts you off in traffic, you don't know, it's your survival instincts kick in, right? Because you don't know if you're going to all of a sudden get into an accident. So all of a sudden you want that system on. You want to be alert, know what your reaction time needs to be quick because you need to be able to get out of the way, slam on your brakes, flip someone off. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Whatever it is you need to do. Yeah. But then, like you said, once your brain realizes, okay, this really isn't an emergency situation. That guy was just being an asshole, or that girl was just being an asshole. Then getting the ability, and that's it's called heart rate variability, or that resilience. So how quickly can you adapt from going to a very stressful situation back down to non-stressful situation? And that adaptability actually is a measure of how healthy you are. So that's another really cool thing. Yeah, heart rate variability.
Pretty healthy, because it's usually, it's not instantaneous, but it's very, very quickly. And I think I have a heightened sense of my issue with traffic is I have a heightened sense of it because for a long time I was a motorcycle rider. And so you have to be even more aware of what people are doing. So I'm instantly like, what are you doing? I'm like, okay, never mind, it's free. It's all good. So.
That's so interesting you say that because my partner, he is way into motorcycles. When I say way into, it's like he rides the track, he goes on long tours, like he's got 5 bikes in the garage. Yeah, it's a little extreme. Like one time he said to me, he's like, do you need so many shoes? And I was like, do you need so many motorcycles? And then that ended that conversation. Nice. It was pretty funny. Nice. But I totally get that. And that's part of the reason why I really don't like riding with him, not because he's a very good rider,
Hmm.
But when you're riding in traffic, and especially in LA, I was
Oh
just
yeah.
in this constant state of anxiety. And so for me, it was not worth putting me through that. So I just am like, hey, go hang out with your buddies, have a great time. I'm gonna stay home and chill out because that's just not for me. But
No, because you guys do the split lanes there in LA, which I can't even fathom riding between the
oh
cars.
yeah.
Like, no way, not in a million years.
Yeah, exactly. And it's legal splitting lanes
Yeah.
here in California, but it doesn't mean it's not scary. And he's been riding bikes since he was like 11. So to him it's second nature, but to me it's just freaks me out. So yeah, it's a
You're
better
back there doing some of that
better
box breathing while you're on the bike.
exactly. I know. Anyways, I digress.
Yeah.
But going back to those things we can do now that are really setting us up for the future. And I wanted to, before time gets too far away, I really wanted to talk about connection.
Mm.
And so in the field of gerontology, which is the study of aging throughout the lifespan, it's not the study of disease when you're old, that's geriatrics.
Okay.
But gerontology is the study of how we age throughout the lifespan. So that could be looking at from 30 to 40 or from 30 to 60 or from 20 to 70, all the way till, when people finally pass. And so in the field of gerontology, we talk a lot about social isolation, in particular as it pertains to older adults. And there have been some recent Harvard studies on how social isolation in an older adult population has worse impact on their health than if they were to smoke 15 cigarettes a day
Wow.
for their lifetime.
That's crazy.
That's huge, right?
Yeah.
It just shows the importance and the seriousness of how humans really need community. They need a sense of belonging. They need a sense of tribe. Obviously, these studies were done in older adults, but now this term social isolation takes on a whole new meaning because most of us are going through this, right? Whether we're alone or maybe we have our partner or family, but still we're feeling isolated in some
Yeah.
way or another. And so to realize how crucial it is at this moment to be reaching out to people for yourself or for them. So I highly encourage everyone listening to today, if you can, reach out to someone who's older or who's alone that probably isn't getting a lot of communication, and get on FaceTime or Zoom, or even if they can't see you, on the phone. Don't just text. The other reason is this virus attaches to our lungs, right? It infects our lungs. And so if you aren't talking, you're not breathing as deeply. And so that's another way of not strengthening our lungs. So we don't really think of talking as strengthening our lungs. But when we talk, like right now, I just took in a big inhale so I could then say my next sentence.
Yeah.
It's cleaning out our lungs. So there's some research that I was reading that how talking is more important or is more beneficial than just texting when we're dealing with older adults or people who are by themselves and not talking for lung health.
Nice.
So that's just something it's brand new stuff coming out, research coming out, but it's there.
But it makes sense. And there is a much deeper connection too when you are actually, like you and I having this conversation, especially having the video, we can see each other. There's a much deeper connection. And, on that subject, what you're talking about, that connection being so important to the longevity, God dang it. I keep coming to these words, longevity of, the human lifespan. I've not read the books, but I've heard there was a lot of research around like the blue zones, where community, or, cultures that live to be like 100 years old. And a big piece of that puzzle is that community that they have, where people, like you looked like someplace over in Eastern Asia or someplace like that, where it is like multiple generations are in the family and they stay together, versus where here in America, it's almost like we split off, like, well, mom and dad, they're over here and the kids are here and grandkids are over here.
Right.
It's not like
Exactly.
that. Yeah. So that community plays such a huge role in them living as long as they do.
Yeah, so I love that you brought up blue zones. I've done a lot of studying around that, and there's 5 blue zones. Well, the original ones that came out maybe 15 years now, and Okinawa, Japan, Nicoya, Costa Rica, Icaria, Greece, Sardinia, Italy, and then the 5th one, which just blows my mind, is Loma Linda, California, which is east of LA. It's like in a very smoggy, polluted area. But as you were mentioning, one of the things, so what the Blue Zones has done is kind of filtered out everything and figured out what do all of these communities have in common. And just as you mentioned, one major thing is community and belonging. And the interesting one about Loma Linda, now I'm not religious, but for this group, they're mostly Seventh-day Adventists, and they have a very, very close-knit church community where every single Saturday they dedicate to their faith, they dedicate to their family. They also do a lot of other things like eat mostly a vegetarian diet, have a high amount of nuts that they're eating and healthy fats. So these are other things, but the community is huge. And then in the Greece and Italy groups, we know that family is huge, a huge factor. You cannot go to a Sunday dinner without having like 15 people around, and then everyone else like calling in. And even here, like with cousins and stuff, we'll do the Sunday WhatsApp call. And then in Japan, what they had was oh goodness, it starts with an M. I can't remember the Japanese word, Mayori or something. Anyways, it was a group of friends that they would have since they were young. So these women in particular, they were friends since they were like 14, and now they were 100 or 105, and they got together almost every week, faithfully not missing it, where they could just get around and hang out. So there's all different ways to create community. You know, it doesn't have to be with your family. Some of us have family we would never want to hang out with, and I understand that. But it could be family, it could be friends, it could be your church group, it could be you know, a mastermind group. That's how we met. It can be anything where you are surrounding yourself with like-minded people that help support you in times of need, and that you support them in times of need. And that doesn't necessarily mean financially. It could just mean a listening ear. It could just be a smile, a hug when we can finally hug each other, all of these things. But really taking the time, sitting back, writing down like, who is in my close-knit community? Who can I depend on? And can they depend on me? And reach out to them and say, and let them know, like, thank you so much for being in my world in this way, because not everyone has those types of people in their lives, and those are the ones who wind up, you know, being ill and dying by themselves. And that's what we don't want to have. I don't mean to sound morbid, but you know, this is where what we need to think about, especially in these times right now. We don't want to take it for granted. People know that we love them and care for them and how much they mean to us.
Yeah, well, and you even see it too on a certain level, like when people, you know, they hit that retirement age and they step out of the workforce, so they're not in that group of people anymore that they've got that common mission, you know, that they're connecting with on every single day, or at least, you know, 5 days a week, whatever. They get out and they retire, and then within a very, very short window of time, within like the next 5-7 years, so many people die because they've lost that community and that connection that they had.
Yep. Yep. And that goes on to just one other point under that pillar of longevity of connection is connecting to a sense of purpose and a sense of higher meaning. Now, again, this doesn't have to be religious. It could be like if someone believes in God, it could be that, or universe. But even just the power of like being connected to nature and the human family. And then to think, okay, how do I fit in to this big picture? What is my sense of meaning? What is my sense of purpose? How am I going to live a life that mattered? Do I have, you know, am I in alignment with that? And a lot of that also is sitting back and taking time to see what's important How am I aligned with what my values are? What are my values? Who is in that group with me? And how do I impact others for the better so that I can say, when I'm at the end of my life, that I did have meaning, I did have impact, I did matter, I was able to, have a beneficial, positive influence on someone else's life, or maybe a lot of people's lives, we hope. So that's another thing that this epidemic has given us time to really sit down and figure out, what is my legacy? Now, it doesn't mean you have to be like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation legacy, right?
To cure malaria, come on.
Right, but billions of dollars. Like, it could be my legacy is, I don't have kids, but if you have kids, it could be your legacy is to create really good little human beings that are going to be, productive in the world when they grow up. Or it could be anything. If you are a mentor to someone, or if you give of your time and efforts to some type of cause, whatever that is, it's different for every single person, but finding what that is and what brings you deep fulfillment and joy is going to have a huge impact on you for generations, or decades, I should say, to come.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just even if you're the, greeter at Walmart, somebody who puts a smile on somebody's face when they walk in the door, that is your purpose. And I think we get too caught up, at least I know I did for a long time, thinking my purpose has to be, like you say, something grand. If I don't transform the entire world, then I've failed in my mission, in life. And I do have a decent sized mission, but it doesn't have to be anything beyond the person that just puts a smile on somebody's face when they see you walking down the sidewalk. Really. I mean,
exactly.
Because that has that ripple effect. If you put a smile on somebody's face, that may completely change what they're thinking about. And then they're going to go home and treat their family better. They're going to treat that next person they see better. And that's going to have that same effect on everybody else. So you can have a massive effect just by smiling at somebody.
Exactly. And so we all have, going back to that power of choice, we all right now have the choice to be the light, to be the leader, to be the person in our community that others look to for positivity, for energy, for vibrancy, for whatever it is that they need. Like, let's do that for others right now, instead of being the one who's like, oh, I can't believe, did you see how many people are sick now in the United States, or how many people died overnight? Like, we know, and I'm not making light of that. We know this thing is huge. And I mean, the whole world is at home. I mean, how much bigger can it be? This is, going to define our life. It's going to be pre-COVID and post-COVID, even more so than 9/11, because it's the entire globe. Exactly. And so what am I going to do now so that when this is over, how am I going to emerge? Am I going to be the person that people say, hey, Nicole was always there. She was showing up. She was the light. She was sharing things to help with anxiety? Or I don't know where she was. She must have been like sitting on the couch eating Cheetos the whole time, watching Netflix. And I'm not saying don't do that. Like, if that's your thing, then do it. But we can really step up right now and take this time to pivot. Maybe you were the person who really didn't give a shit. Yeah. There's tons of people like that, and that's cool. But now maybe you want to give a shit, and it's okay. You can make that change. Like, you don't have to be stuck in any position or in any persona. I mean, obviously you want to be true to yourself, and you don't want to be like inauthentic or anything, but we have the chance now to really become whatever we want and to shine our light so brightly. And so I'm just trying to do that along with you and everyone you've brought in, and everyone who's obviously in this group, because that's why you're in this group, is to turn this obstacle into an opportunity, the outbreak into an opportunity. And it's just been such an amazing ride, I think, and we're not over. So I look forward to seeing what else everyone has to offer, including you with your upcoming speakers.
Yeah. Well, and I've just loved bringing the people in, because again, I want people to take this opportunity, because it is, I think it's probably overused already, but it's literally a once in a lifetime chance. I mean, in this era that we're in, the world will never ever be on pause like this, I pray, ever again, because it would take something this tragic, however you want to look at it. But it's really hard to imagine something like this would ever happen again, where the entire world can just really stop, take a look at your life. And again, if you want to sit on the couch and eat Cheetos and binge on Netflix all day long, that is your choice. I have zero problem with that, as long as that's a conscious choice and not,
Right.
falling into that, I got on the hamster wheel and I don't know how to get off, just stop for a second, hit the pause button and really look at your life. Is this what I want to be doing with my life? And if that's a conscious choice, yes, I am completely satisfied. If I never get off this couch, if I die right here eating the Cheetos and watching the Tiger King, I've lived my happy life. More power to you, brother. As long as that's a conscious choice.
I think I need to figure out, I've seen so many memes about this Tiger King and I don't even know what it is. So I think I need to actually
it's one of those where I even put a poll on my Instagram story, not to get too far off track, but I put a poll on there like, should I watch this? Because everybody's talking about it. And everybody's like, yes, yes, yes. I'm like, but no, it sounds so terrible. It sounds like, literally watching a train wreck, and people dying. And I'm like, why would I want to watch it? But everybody's like, yes, you need to watch it. I'm like, I don't know. I can't bring myself to do it yet.
Is it a series? Is it a documentary? What is it?
Apparently it's like a documentary series. Like there's 4, 5, 6 episodes, something like that. But it's about this crazy tiger people, and there's murder and all kinds of stuff that happens in it. And sounds like the worst of worst reality TV kind of stuff,
Like to add to our anxiety already.
Yeah, but maybe we're watching it going, well, at least my life's not that messed up. So I don't know.
That's true. At least we're not literally running away from tigers, just the tigers in our brain.
Yeah. So, but no, I don't really see any questions over here. I got Mike on here. You did mention this, that I love my retirement life and I'm busier than ever now. More connections than ever. I love that, Mike. That's so awesome. Said, we're spot on, talking about that. But this has been so great having you on here, and I really appreciate everything that you shared with us today. And did you have any final words? I definitely want to make sure that you take some time and let everybody know where can they connect with you. I've got you linked obviously here in the Facebook group, but outside of that, on Instagram or anywhere else, where would you like to have them reach out and connect with you at?
So you can reach me on Facebook or on Instagram. My handle is Dr. Nicole Marcione. So it's DRNICOLE and then my last name, Marcione. My website, if you're interested in learning more about longevity and brain health, is called Integrative Aging. That's spelled, so it's www.integrativaging.com. It's really long, Integrative Aging. But if you want to get on my list, I've been sending out emails talking about mental wellness, about the power of choice. There's always stuff on longevity. I also created an immune boosting daily checklist that you can print out. It's a really nice little PDF on how to boost your immune system right now. And a lot of people have enjoyed that. So you can find that there's like a little red banner at the top of my website. Just click on that and you can download it. But I'm super excited to be part of this. And and if you like the Pilates this morning, I've been doing that as long as we're at home. I'm doing it 3 times a week on my Facebook Live, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 8:30 Pacific, 11:30 Eastern time. And I think that's it. James, I can't remember where you're located. You're in the Midwest?
I'm in just outside of St. Louis. So we're in the
St. Louis. Okay. That's Midwest, right?
Yep.
It's like, okay.
Yeah. It's in the Chicago area. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm not actually in Chicago area, but I shouldn't say directly, but if you picture Chicago, go south and that's where you'll find us.
Right there. Okay. I knew you were somewhere. I couldn't remember in the Midwest. So
yeah, St. Louis is one of those towns people have heard of, like, I don't know, where's that at? It's somewhere like, okay, let me because I actually live on the Illinois side, but if I say Illinois, it's automatically, do you live near Chicago? Like, no, nowhere near Chicago, unless you consider like 300 miles away, close to Chicago, but no.
Okay, you're with the arches.
Yes, that's where we're at.
That's what St. Louis is known for, right?
Yep. That is our claim to fame over here. So, but again,
awesome.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you so
Nicole. I really
much.
appreciated this. And yes, definitely everybody reach out, connect with Nicole. She's got so much value that she's delivering both with the Pilates and with longevity, and with the boosting your immune system. Why would you not want to do that right now? Especially right now, any day, of course, but especially right now with everything that's going on. So again, thank you so much, Nicole. And
Thank
I
you for
appreciate
having
all
me,
of this.
James.
All right.
Bye. Thanks so much.
Take care.
You too. Bye.